It's recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
All righty.
We want to welcome everyone to our bonus content for Church Folks Be Talking. And what we're talking about today, we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to talk about some topics that we have seen in the newsreels, news cycles, and we wanted to just give our little Christian perspective on our little COV.
Do you think that a Christian view doesn't make a matter?
Christian CPOV, Christian point of view. Church, I'm done. I can't think of no more. Can't think of no more of those. So here we go. We have 3 topics that we want to talk about just a little bit. And we invite you to come and add your 2 cents in, but we're going to give our little 2 cents.
Yeah, we'd love to get your feedback, please.
And see what we're talking about.
Yes.
So the first thing that was brought to my attention was an article from the Washington Post. And the article is discussing why don't more men take their wives' last names? Why don't more men? Sir, you got 2 last names. I only had 1. Wouldn't that have made more sense for you just to go ahead and take my name instead of me having 2 lines on my Social Security card?
Oh, Lord. Well, if you look at it from a biblical perspective, right? If you come from the tradition of the Bible world, and you see when the Bible said, when the 2 shall become one, he automatically take on her husband name. But it's interesting you brought that up because I remember when we were doing this outreach with the Muslim society, those who got apartment was burned down, and I realized that the wife's last name was different from the husband's last name.
Oh, really?
Yes, and I'm thinking, okay, somebody trying to play a trick on us here. So
right.
They're
trying to get 2 checks.
2 checks. It was one of our deacons who from Nigeria kind of gave us some perspective that normally, the wife would keep her last name and the husband keep their last name. I find that
so they didn't mix it at all. They didn't hyphenate it, or they just kept Jones and he was Smith.
Right. I guess the wife kept the dad last name and vice versa. But I know the extensive of that. I can't really elaborate more on that, but it was very interesting because I was educated that day.
Well, what's your thought process about it? Do you think that it's okay for men to lose their surname and take on their wives? Would you be Pedro Bennett?
No, I would not. Because well, culturally,
you said that way too fast.
Yeah, say fast because culturally, we raised up in the Western culture mentality about the last name and stuff like that. I'm from Jamaica, and culturally we take on the wife, take on the husband last name. But I know we live in a society now where we see celebrities who get married and still they kept their last name.
Well, I think for celebrities, sometimes that is just because that's the image that they've created. And then they get married, they don't change their name because it doesn't make any sense to call them something different other than what they built, right?
I think one of the postulation could be that, hey,
this might sound ugly. Let's be honest.
No, sound ugly. Sometimes, if it doesn't work out, at least you keep her last.
Period. You know how much paperwork is involved with changing your name?
No, that's crazy. But the world is changing before us, right? So we see man and woman is given new definition to what
marriage should look like. There is definitely a shift in the flexibility. It's more of let's write our own rules.
A shift. And one could understand why they're doing that because sometimes the church world doesn't give good example.
Say that.
That's another.
That's a whole other thing.
Another conversation.
I know that I was emphatic about taking your last name. I was like, I'm married because I took all 2 of them, and I had the audacity to keep my last name. Which I'm telling you, I told you before, when we hit 25 years, I'm headed to the Social Security office, and I'm cutting some of these names out because it is like the Dickens to go get a plane ticket, and they're like, "Well, I think that's you, but your name is this and this and this."
Bennett.
Well, I kept my last name.
And then you have another form you have.
And then you have your last name, Graham. and then you took on your dad's name, Brown, and so it's a story in itself. When people see my name, they're just like, "Oof, that's a handful."
And it's another conversation where I have two last names, to be honest.
We ain't gonna have it though.
We don't want to have it, but
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I kept my last name though.
So I ask you a question now.
Because my dad.
As a female,
yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it's pretty cool. If I'm honest about it, would I ever put someone in that predicament? I'd be like, no. If I saw a dude and they were like, I'm taking my wife's last name, I'm like, you a sucker. That's all. I am a progressive traditionalist. And so some ideas I like, some ideas I don't. And I think that I just don't like it.
I think I
don't really have any other reason. Maybe you would say I'm brainwashed or I'm conditioned to think one thing is this.
It's not.
But
when you have feminists,
if anything, I would be okay with just no names being exchanged at all.
Yeah.
And so I would stay Frankie Bennett and you would stay Pedro Graham Brown. But then the question is, what do your kids do? How do you do that? Right. I wouldn't do it because I want everybody to have the same last name. Me and my siblings, we don't have the same last name. But I think and that's sometimes we have to do a lot of explaining about that.
A rebellion towards heterosexual behaviors, if I may use that expression there, because as I said, the heterosexual community, we have not demonstrated, the role that God has given to us, and unfortunately, we find
what role? What role? You mean marriage role? Roles in marriage?
Yeah, roles in marriage, and sometimes we have this idea that why don't you do it my way? And we're trying to cancel. God.
Not even my way. It's you're right. It is my way. Let's do it. Let's write our own rules.
Right, write our own rules.
But that's the great falling away.
It is.
You don't see a lot of people outside the church probably adopting this particular statement. But I wouldn't be surprised if it happens.
Would not be surprised.
Okay. Well, that's our 2 cents.
That's our 2 cents.
So let's
tell us what you think.
Tell us what you think.
Yes.
Is that would you take on men? Would you take on your wife's last name? Women, would you suggest that? And how do you really feel about taking on your husband's last name? All right.
But here's the catch about it. Here's the contradisposition.
Jennifer Lopez noted that she has officially taken on Ben Affleck's last name. She is JAF. She is Jennifer Affleck, but that sounds not good.
But here's a contradiction.
J-Lo is where it's at.
Here's a contradiction about that.
Come on, because you keep saying a word. What you want to say?
Even though, right, that the man taken the woman last name, the man is still taking a man last name because the woman has her father last name.
Run that by me again.
Okay. Even though the man is taking on the woman last name.
Right? They're still taking on another man's name?
They're still taking on another man's name.
That's a whole nother can of worms.
It's a whole other can of worms.
That's so definitely a can. Right? Yeah, yeah.
So, it's just opening up for a lot of confusion, to be honest with you.
But then if we think about same-sex marriages, how do you choose which person gets to keep whose name?
When we do it,
which equally also can create some not confusion because we're not in that lifestyle, but it can create a source of contention.
Right.
Like who's taking whose name?
Who's taking whose name? The DNA has a way of canceling out that too, because what if you take the woman's last name and you want to find out your dad ancestry, right? Last name. So, guys, I'm telling you, this tends to create.
It's just a can of worms.
Yeah, it's open Pandora box.
Ooh.
And sometimes we're taking something so simplistic that God has given us to complicate it.
Flip it, remixing it. We're flipping a house and it ain't got no value.
No value whatsoever.
None. All right, that's our 2 cents on that. If I had some note cards. What's next?
What next?
Here, go ahead and read our next hot topic.
Our next hot topic is
church topic.
A Starbucks employee suspended after labeling black woman cup monkey,
labeling it.
labeling it monkey.
So, Starbucks barista was recently suspended from his job. I believe this happened November 19th. One of the ladies was ordering a caramel macchiato, and when she received her cup, she also had issues because her order was incorrect. But then on top of that, the name on the cup, if you pay for the app or whatever, monkey. It wasn't quote the app. The name on the cup said monkey.
Not quote. It's Axis. Okay. I mean,
what's up with that?
Starbucks. That's just tell me sometimes.
That's just it's going on.
What did a person
gain from that?
And sometimes I find that to be insecurity.
Yeah.
When somebody is behaving that way,
necessarily
about
you
they are, right? And guys, listen, man, this is the 21st century, and we need to get over it.
We really do.
Because we are living on the same planet. And believe you me, you have to learn how to work with different people, diverse of races. There's no way around it.
Diverse of genders, diverse of age, diverse of race, diverse of culture, diverse of faith, diverse of religion. And when we all get cut open, guess what? Everybody's bleeding red.
No, I'm bleeding red, but it's amazing.
What else? What else you bleeding besides red?
Lord, if I bleed blue, everybody gonna go crazy.
You'd be a Democrat. I'm bleeding Democrat.
But it's sad. It's really sad.
I don't understand why we're in that day and age. And Starbucks do better. I love you. And it seems like every time I'm comfortable, every time I get my order just good and clean and prepared, here y'all come with some tomfoolery. First, it was not letting the black guys pee in the bathroom when they were clearly conducting business and they got arrested. Then it was something else. Now we're putting monkey on people's cups. I mean, first of all, it's distasteful. Second of all, been there, done that. Third of all, monkeys are awesome.
Now, could we say then if you put on...
Not that I want to be called a monkey. I mean, you gonna get these Christian hands.
Starbucks, and I ring up a Caucasian drink. And I put whitewash. I know for
you put whitey on there.
Whitewash.
What's whitewash?
Whitey.
Oh,
but the point is that's
distasteful.
This tasteful.
And we don't advocate for that at all.
Because the Bible teaches that through one man, all races descended from one man.
Correct.
And like I said, the bottom line again is where people's heart is. Our sinful nature, our brokenness.
Why is it 2022 and people are still having issues? But let's be honest, this is going to be the biggest issue for the rest of everyone's life. Right. If we had nothing, if this is the biggest slavery and racism are the United States' greatest original sin.
But I always say this here to my young people I used to work with.
Yeah.
When somebody see greatness in you, right? People become very intimidated.
I mean, she was just ordering coffee though. What kind of greatness you think they saw?
But I'm saying people see that people are gifted.
Yeah.
Black people, we are very gifted people. There's no doubt about it. But I say that we are gifted people. I'm not saying we're devaluing any other races.
Correct. Right? Correct.
But the point is that when people become intimidated of you, you got to ask the question: why are they intimidated at you? Is it something that they see something in you that they become intimidated of? Not really. Think about that.
And you know what? And some people, as I like to say, misery just loves company. And so maybe barista was having a bad day. But nevertheless, don't rain on my parade. Especially don't come with me with some racist stuff. And then if Miss Monique, I believe her name was, decided that she wanted to turn that whole Starbucks up, then she would have been looked at like the bad guy.
Right.
When they were really the antagonist of the whole situation.
I don't care what situation you're going through in life. Listen.
Be kind.
Be kind.
Rewind.
I think that was very intentional.
Well, yeah. I mean, she typed. She had to put edit, or he had to. It was actually he. He had to edit the name from the receipt and willingly put an alternative name and then serve it to her.
And that's kind of sad. It's really sad.
Can you imagine?
It's sad. But hey, this is the world we living in. This is a fall.
Keep yourself covered.
Nature, the brokenness of humanity. We are broken people.
Kudos to you, Miss Monique from Starbucks, who held her head high
and did not respond
and at least not enough to get arrested. We appreciate that. We need good people like you to show a better example that we know how to hold our
and there's no wrong to react.
Hold our composure.
That's about been written.
What happened though? What if I mean, you don't go to Starbucks often, so I don't know wherever you would go get a drink. What would happen if someone put that on your what would you do? The best thing to do is, and it's the most hardest thing to do, take that cup and go. Verdun was waiting to
for that. My brother-in-law, which I admire very much, great man who demonstrates.
He was a champion.
Extraordinary.
Right along the lines of this. I had to share what my bro did.
We were in Louisiana. I mean,
you were.
New Orleans, right?
You were.
And he went to purchase something that he liked, and they brought it back to him. And
we were at the French market. And he ordered a po' boy sandwich. And my nephew and my brother's friend had said, this isn't going to be the best sandwich. You're going to be quite disappointed. My brother said, you know what? I want a po' boy. I'm going to go ahead and get it. So he ordered the po' boy. And once he got it, oh man, was he disappointed. Just the visual look of it. They didn't have any lettuce on the sandwich. The bread was about this wide. The meat was about this much. And so it wasn't worth the value of what he paid. It wasn't what he expected as his first sandwich there. Now, he could have been upset, which he was, and he went up to the counter and he could have went off and he could have said all these different things. But what he simply said was, this isn't what I expected. This isn't what I paid for. I expect something else. She was real nasty. She was a little nasty. And
why are you getting upset? And then my brother-in-law walked off. And I love what he said. Ma'am, I walked off to calm myself down.
Mm-hmm.
Because this situation could have get really...
It could have escalated. And my brother is a very even-tempered man. Right. But if you push him to the edge...
Right. He could go cluck on you.
He would have went off, and so he removed himself from the situation and came back.
The point is that
in a better
countenance, and that was a great example he set for us.
Now let me tell you,
as men, to be quite honest with you, as a black man, he did an awesome job by displaying that behavior.
Yeah,
and I respect him for that.
Yeah,
because that's how you handle situation. To be quite honest with you. That's where you have the situation. So I want to use that as an example in that Starbucks.
Yeah, so the best way to do it is just to remove yourself from the situation. Figure out how to handle it with taste, because that's what people want. People want to rise out of you, and that's exactly what they're looking for. Waiting on these African Americans to cut up so they can have a reason to blame us for something.
Dr. King said this in his civil rights movement.
What did the King say?
He said, when in his march, when he was marching, this civil disobedience, and the white racists was coming at him, and the marchers violently. One of the the marcher came and said, Dr. King, why we got to continue keep on doing this? I mean, they trying to kill us. And Dr. King said, you know what? We're going to do this. We're going to love them to the point that they come to a point that they just get sick and tired, that they have nothing else in their arsenal to use against us.
And then they beat him over the head with a billy club.
Not only beat him, they use everything possible.
It's hard.
But the point he was simply saying that by doing the way that God called us to do it, because the Bible said, do not return evil for evil. Put a coal upon their head. The fire purify. And fire purify. They have nothing to say against you.
Amen.
It's not easy.
Amen.
It's not easy. But if you keep yourself focused.
And you're setting you're shaking the table. And you're setting a good example. not only for us, he set example for his children that were there. He set example for everybody else that was around.
My daughters were there.
No, they weren't.
Oh, that's true. I'm telling you, we did.
In your head.
No, I mean there were kids there. That's what
his kids was there.
That was what I was trying to say.
His kids were there.
Kids were there too. You know.
But let me tell you, and we're gonna wrap it up. But he was pissed about it. We really had to hear about that lack of lettuce the whole trip.
Yeah.
And we could laugh at it now.
We could laugh at it.
But in the time, especially when you're hungry, we were hungry. And if you don't get your food right, I know I'm a victim of being hangry.
But the point is that he paid his money. This is New Orleans, you all. And poor boy, I heard is pretty good.
And and another thing was, she was like, well, you can have your money back. He was like, it's not about the money. I am telling you this because you can't serve me like this and then expect to serve other people like this.
Right. How does that represent your brand too? You know.
Period. He was dropping gems.
Well, Starbucks, the owner. I mean, you're making millions and billions.
Oh yeah.
You need to correct that.
There's Starbucks. Damn.
We need to. I mean, sometimes we don't know what type of people want to.
You know what I'm going to do this month in honor of our fallen hero. Well, she's not a fallen hero, but you know what I'm going to do in honor of Miss Monique Pugh. I'm taking my cravings to McDonald's.
Yeah, I mean, if there's no change,
I mean, just this month,
then we need to just change our business.
Because I do like that creme brulee latte.
But we just probably.
But I'm taking a stand for my sister.
Keep it going. Keep the ball going.
All right.
Next topic is.
Let's talk about this.
New York City.
New York City,
in the world. Let me tell you something, people.
There's
no exaggeration. New York City is very expensive.
Look, it was a survey. Bloomberg.com, Time Out Magazine. Shout out Time Out Magazine. New York was tied for first place as the most expensive city in the world. 172 cities have been displayed, and New York City tied with, come on, Singapore. I don't even know what's happening. I don't even know what that looks like. But apparently, we can afford to live there because we live here.
I mean,
we can't afford to live here, if I'm honest.
To increase rent, cost of living.
Well, let me tell you what it includes. New York City was number 6 on the list last year. Mm-hmm. And we have had an 8% increase, and it's due to the war in Ukraine. It's due to high inflation costs, and it's also due to the increased amount of cost of living. All of that has bumped New York up.
Not a bumped it, but even the immigrant situation have compounded the situation, the financial situation as well. Because even the mayor is simply saying now they have to reconsider about spending.
It's too much.
Spending, because now they spend over $2 billion. Yeah.
New York is a borrowed city for the majority of us. Mm-hmm. 75% of the people in New York own nothing. But nothing.
But the thing is, nothing. I mean, if you're gonna do that,
no, I mean that's a big thing because that's where the wealth comes from is ownership of real estate. Everything in New York, or 75% of the people live in New York rent everything. But then they own nothing.
A friend of mine from Nigeria, I love. We went to school together. Best friend James Aditiro, great friend of mine, brother in the Lord.
Could you?
Yeah, he said something to me. He said, in Nigeria, when you put a Nigeria against the wall, and they're trying to get away from you, and you nail him to the wall, he has no way out to escape. You become the target, right? I use that example to say that
Please let us know where you're going.
I'm going to it because the more this city is becoming expensive, it's going to cause an uprising.
Is it? Or are people still content and they still living in the same houses they've been living in 20 years? Nobody's uprising because where else you going to go?
It's going to cause an uprising to the fact that, listen.
Who's going to be uprised? The white folks, and they're going to come on back down to the Bronx and be gentrified.
The working class is going to be cause an uprising. Because when the 1% keep on getting away with it, the majority of people who are working class, middle class, poor people, listen, it comes to a point when you push people to the wall. and you give them no other alternative, you're gonna backfire.
So, but if you give them no alternative? What is the alternative?
Well, we don't know what the alternative is, but I tell you one thing though: the rich will find an alternative, right?
Because they rich.
Let me say this here. One of the things that during slavery time, right?
Oh my.
In Jamaica, right?
Oh gracious.
Why they created the patois, because civil disobedience. They call it civil, not in Jamaica, but slavery. Because one of the way that the slave found out to rebel against the master is not doing their work. They find out that, you know what? Since we are doing the work and they profit from that, let us not do the work. So they come up with this term called civil disobedience.
But here's the thing: even if we
And
think
cause an
about
uprising.
we talk about slavery, right? And a lot of people would say, even sometimes I have to ask myself, if it was more of us than them, why did they never rebel? Why did they take so long? Wait, to overcome the few when they were more? Because they found themselves stuck in some type of mental state where they knew that they didn't know their value. Really? Or they didn't think they didn't know what else was out there. And that's the reason why people still stay in New York. The majority of people who live in New York City have never left New York.
And then again, too,
and so they don't know New York. They don't know what else is there. So you know what?
That is true.
They're gonna stay. They're gonna complain. They're gonna have all these unrented. It's a mess. It's expensive.
But I'm saying that it can create an atmosphere.
All right. If I'm honest about it, you have to see what else is out there. I
totally agree with you. We have to.
I enjoy New York. New York has a lot to offer, but if you aren't really weaving yourself into the fabric of the culture and becoming a homeowner and opening up businesses and being a part of your community, then you will struggle in this city.
It's just because what they want to be known globally. New York, why they're so expensive, is one of the expensive.
So why is it so expensive here?
It's they say the cost of living. We don't know, but it's once again it's just
to own a house. It costs at least $850,000 up to $1 million minimally to own a house in New York City, and that's for not even a new model.
Right.
Half the time they don't even have a garage.
And I think that because the minimum wage now in New York is $15, that's gonna somehow satisfy us, appease us, and somehow
that's still $30,000 a year.
I see the $15 an hour as still $7.
Location. It's because everyone wants to come here because of what they offer. But then the people who come here probably do better than the people who actually live here, because the people who live here don't know how to tap into the resources to make it out to do better.
And that's true too. And then and not only that too, but there are people in
New York City,
and Hispanic folks are in a position that also can help alleviate some of the headache financially.
Ain't nobody helping nobody.
But nobody's helping anybody. Everybody's for themselves, and it's kind of sad.
That makes it even less desirable, in my opinion. Nobody cares about anybody in New York City.
I mean, look at you. We've been there for 8 years. You remember? After you and talk.
Well, nobody trying to give me no job. Nobody trying to help me.
Trying to help you.
But thank God, because thank God.
Yes, thank God. God's providence has been keeping us here to become. We'll go into detail, but those are the 3 topics that we want to, talk about. Tell me what you think, please.
Talk about that. Some alternatives,
right?
Other than New York City, where you can get the New York City life, not in New York City.
Now, do you sacrifice the life of New York for your happiness?
If we had to go anywhere else, I've asked you this a million times. Where else would you want to go?
See, that's why a lot of people are depressed here in New York, in those expensive places to become.
If you could leave New York and go anywhere, where would you go?
Back to Jamaica.
No, you wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. But no, I would like to think about Jamaica. But no.
To live.
I love Pennsylvania. Remember I told you that. I love Pennsylvania. But listen, my thing. I'm
like Philadelphia.
I'm very adaptable.
Which is ain't nothing but another Gary.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing but another New York.
Right.
Sorry, Philly.
But it's sad. It's sad. This is the.
We just wanted to come with a couple of hot topics, couple of church topics, and just give our little 2 cents and dissect that. So if you have any extra thoughts about Starbucks and monkeys. Cost of living in New York City. And who's taking whose last
But
name?
and that's the thing about it now.
Shout us out.
Here's the thing about it.
Damn, Starbucks.
Here's the irony of it all.
I wish I would have never heard about that article.
But here's the irony of it all. That man has the audacity to label monkey, not realizing, excuse the expression, that if he calling this lady a monkey, you got to realize that it's the monkey money still paying his rent. Now think about that.
Period.
You have the audacity.
Who's the server and who's the customer?
That's right. That's right. And without black people, we are one of the most people who spend in this economy.
We put a lot of money into consumerism. Black
people and minority people stop buying to these companies. Guess what? Some of you white folks, where would you get your money to pay your rent?
Let me tell you, I love me some as people say,
not all white folks.
We're not racist. My best friend is white.
Yeah, I got a white family. Knocking wood.
What you knocking for? They white. They're really white. Look how light you are.
I know, right?
I ain't got a dog in this fight.
But we thank you so much for listening.
Just listen in, and every now and then we'll kind of bring a little levity to the situation. Everything doesn't have to be so dark and dreary and doom and gloom, which I don't even think it is anyway. But we thank you for just hanging in with us. And if you got any more information that you want us to dissect and give our opinions on, feel free to leave a couple comments. And don't forget to subscribe. I'm going to figure out where it's going to go. Invite.
Ring the bell. Ring my bell.
Ring-a-ling-a-ling.
My bell.
All right.
Thank you guys.
Church folks.
God bless.
We out.